So yeah, we'll kick it off, Rebekah, if you don't mind. The first question I have for you is, what was your main reason for joining us in the first place? Was it something you just popped up on Instagram? Like talk us through the whole thought process.
So yeah, I was wanting to start my business in January of 2020, but obviously COVID hit. I couldn't, so I just carried on with the job I was doing, and then I was thinking, right, okay, I need to do, I need to do my PT. I'm not happy where I am, but I didn't know how to go about it, and I didn't know what to do. I couldn't get guidance from anyone. And then obviously, Josh, you reached out to me, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is the perfect timing, because I didn't really have a clue how online worked, like online coaching or anything really. I was going to do one-to-one, and the thing with one-to-one is it does take up a lot of time. And I thought of going from a job where I'm so busy all the time to another job where I'm so busy all the time. It just wasn't really very appealing, and I didn't realize how flexible online was. And you started talking about it, got into the online, you guided me through it, and how to grow my business, what to do, and yeah, it just it literally just took off.
Good. I always remember when you first joined that, and this is probably relatable to a lot of coaches that are still working full time or have another job as well as PT and stuff, that as much as you loved being a carer and doing all that stuff, it was kind of quite draining as well. So it would start to impact what you actually wanted to do as well. Do you remember that? So when you would do the online coaching or the business related stuff, if you'd had a really long shift, it was very difficult for you to get yourself in that correct state and that energy up. And I think that's kind of what holds you back a little bit as well. Do you know what I mean? Because you're kind of like, oh, I really want to go for it, but my energy is low, and it's very difficult. Do you remember that quite well?
Yes, let's say because my shifts were starting so early in the morning, and then it'd be a split shift, and then I'd be working till late at night. I not finishing till 10, 11 some nights, and I'd be back on at 7 the next morning. I just had no time to do anything. I couldn't focus, on my Instagram. I couldn't focus on my clients. I couldn't do check-ins properly. I couldn't start a boot camp. It was just so draining. And my mood was just so low because of it, because it was such a mentally and physically draining job. I was just miserable, and I was like, I don't see a way out of this. And then obviously I started my business in April, and this went on for the whole month, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this. And you were just like, you just have to leave your job. And I was like, you are nuts, Josh, I can't leave my job. But I left it. I handed my notes in at the beginning of May, but a month after starting my business, and I'm, so much happier. Yes, having your own business is mentally hard at times, especially because I haven't done a full year yet. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out the peaks and the troughs, so it is difficult. But it's so worth it because I'm my own boss. I manage my own time. And the pay is so much better than home care. So yeah,
100%. How did it feel when you actually came to quitting the job? Were you 100% certain, or was a little bit of doubt? Because I know when it comes to making big decisions, especially family and friends, people like that, they always want the best. And sometimes if they've not really been an entrepreneur or business owner themselves, sometimes they don't quite understand. They see it as just very, very risky. How did that feel from your perspective? Did you feel a little bit of that kind of, oh, I'm unsure, or did you feel really certain with it?
Yeah, I was quite unsure. I remember sitting with my parents. Now, my dad's had a few businesses. He's an amazing business owner. And I sat with my parents one night, and I was like, look, my coaches think I should quit my job because I can't focus on the business fully. And my mum at first was kind of like, are you sure? Maybe you should just cut back your hours. And my dad was a bit like that too. And then they were like, actually, no, Rebekah, leave home care. You can't keep doing this. You're getting treated rubbish sometimes by clients, a lot of the time by management. Home carers as a whole don't get treated great. So it's not a good place to be. And they were like, just leave. So I did. And as soon as I was right, I handed in my notes. I phoned my boss the Monday morning at 7 a.m. because she was on call then. I was like, look, I'm leaving. And she was gutted, but like as soon as I hung up that phone call, I was like, oh my goodness. It was almost like, it sounds really cliche, but it was really like empowering, because I'm like, I'm leaving this where I am under someone else. I'm under like management. I'm working for other people to be my own boss, providing a service. So yeah, it was really empowering. And then once I made the jump, it was like, yeah, best decision.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think, you know, for a lot of people listening to this as well that are in a similar position, I think it's very easy to convince yourself that you need that safety net and you need to have that little bit of income. And, you know, if you're always, especially for people in that kind of corporate background that, you know, might be high up and stuff, and a lot of the people around that area can be very much, you know, we need to have the pension, we need the safety net, we need the this and that. And I think taking that risk is like so scary for them. But I think especially when you're young, I always say this to people, especially when you're, you know, 18, 20, 25, and even if you are older, if you've not got a huge amount of responsibility, I always say, you know, you don't want to waste this time and stay in that job that you know you're not getting much from, you're not getting the fulfillment you want, you're not being able to help the amount of people you want. At some point, you're going to have to bite the bullet. At some point, you're going to have to go, I'm just going to go for it. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I can always get another job. And I think that was the benefit of what you did. And the next question I had is in terms of stepping out the comfort zone, because I think, you know, we've had numerous conversations. You've had conversations with Chris as well about challenging yourself. And I think for you, as with many coaches, stepping out the comfort zone and doing new strategies can be very, very difficult and overwhelming. So how did you find that first, you know, when I was saying to you, like, Rebekah, we need to do this, and you're a bit like, oh God, I'm not sure how I'll react. Like, how did you find that process? Did it get easier the more you did it? Or is it something you're still improving on every day?
Yeah, I think everyone can kind of like improve on their own like self-confidence all the time. And it is like, it does take a long time to get to a certain point. I was really like, as you and Chris both know, I was really like not confident when it came to being a coach at first, as I'm sure a lot of people are. And I think it's kind of like the best way to be at first. You don't want to be, you know, cocky or saying you can deliver something when you actually can't. And I think just kind of work on yourself each day by, you know, stepping out of your comfort zone. So like speaking on Instagram for one was tough. I did it and now I do it on the daily. It doesn't bother me. I'll post videos. No, doesn't bother me at all anymore. I think it's important to note that I come from like an island. So if people step out of the comfort zone or step out like this bubble, you are kind of frowned upon sometimes, where people will be like, okay, she's really weird. Like they automatically think you're weird because you might do something different. And I think for me, that was the hardest part, was judgment from others. But once you get past the stage of, no, I'm doing this for me, I'm doing it for my business, for my future, you forget about other people, and you just focus on yourself and the fact that I am helping other people. You just focus on those people as opposed to those that are going to judge you, because most of the time people judge you because of their own insecurities, because they're jealous. So stepping out of my comfort zone was uncomfortable, but if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you at all.
So true. No, 100%. I love that you ended with that, because it's so important for anyone that is listening or watching this. Anything that you're now confident at now, there would have been a point where you weren't as confident. And for me, it was driving a car. Like I didn't know where the clutch was, the accelerator. I wasn't really into cars. All my friends were. But the more lessons I did and the more practice I got, I mean, I'll go from A to B now, like second nature. It's something that I'm super confident at doing. For you, it was the content on social media, you know, other business related things. For me, Canva. And I think a lot of times people can convince themselves that they're no good at something, and that's just how it's going to be. So, I'm not good at it now, so I'll never be good at it, rather than actively trying to improve on it. So, you know, people say all the time, like, oh, I'm rubbish at Canva, I'm terrible at illustrations or writing content, but they never actively try to learn it or improve it, because, as you say, they're scared of the judgment. They're scared of getting it wrong. And I think it's really important, and I'm glad you brought that up, that, what doesn't challenge you doesn't change you. If you're not willing to step out the comfort zone, there's only so high that you can go in your business and in your mindset and everything else. So no, I'm really glad that you mentioned that. And the next thing I wanted to touch on is, because you put out a lot of really quality content, you were being given value and doing things. See, when it came to your first launch, how did it feel getting 30 inquiries the first time you put something out there? And was that something that was quite overwhelming for you? Obviously you were happy, but how did you feel? I know how you felt, but I want other people to hear as well.
Yeah, so when I first launched like the business at the start of April, when I launched that I was starting taking on clients, I got a lot of inquiries. And because, I didn't really know what I was doing, essentially, like I did calls, I was like, I don't really know what I'm asking here. I don't really know what I'm trying to find out. It was very daunting, quite stressful. And to be honest, I was questioning whether I wanted to do it because I wasn't used to it. I'm very much like, once I'm used to something, I'm totally fine. But getting there is quite uncomfortable for me. So I was quite like, I'm speaking to all these people, I'm not sure how to do this. But yeah, I got lots of inquiries for that. And that really kicked off my business. I was really, really like overwhelmed like with that. And then obviously as the months went on, I got used to it. It was great. I really enjoyed it. But I was always like wanting more. And that's why I started like the boot camp. When I launched the boot camp and got like so many inquiries for it, my boot camp's like bursting now. Like where I am, it is like bursting full of people. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. And I'm just so excited to like launch the next one in the new year. It's just to see like how many I can get if I deliver quality content. And I know that I will get a lot of people if I am consistent. It's the only way to do it.
Brilliant. And then the next part I wanted to say is, fast forward and closer to now, how did it feel? Because I know we set a target of, I think it was about £3,000 for the month. And then you sent me a text saying, I think I might hit 5. How did that feel when you kind of came to that realization that, do you know what, I've kind of gone above what I thought I could do? How did that kind of feel?
Like mad, absolutely mad, because I was in a job before where I was, on average earning £1,500 a month. And obviously that increased when I started this job. I wouldn't even call this a job. If you love it, it's not a job. But then when I said to you that I wanted to have like a £3,000 target, and then I launched the boot camp and all the inquiries come in, all the payments come in, I was like, oh, flip Josh, I think I might actually earn like 5k this month. It was just like I was beaming, and like money doesn't drive me. But if you can get that amount of money from doing something that you love, it's like, wow, it's like madness. I remember going to my parents and I was like, I'm going to earn a lot this month. And they were like, how much? I was like, I think 5k. their jaws just like dropped. They're like, oh my goodness, like you work like 2 hours a day, 2-3 hours a day, and you're getting that. They're like, that's absolutely insane. So yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was the next thing I wanted to say. It's like, how many hours on average were you having to do for that 1,500 a month? On average per day or per week, like how much were you working for that 1,500?
So about 45 hours a week for the 1,500, but it's hard work, like moving people, cleaning people, cleaning up after them, all sort of stuff. Was an average 45. Now it could be more than that some weeks, depending on, the individual. They're elderly, so they're unpredictable. Yeah. Compared to now, where I work 2-3 hours a day, there's just no comparison at all.
Yeah, and I think this is the important thing for anyone listening, is there's a lot of misconceptions around people saying that you have to graft, you have to work crazy hours and stuff. And I think it's, yes, you can, and yes, that will help, but it's more about working smart and making sure when you are working, you're doing very high priority things for your business. For example, Rebekah's got a boot camp where she can help 20, 30, 40, 50, whatever people at a time. And that's only taken 1 hour of her day, you know, and then she's got online as well, where she's got other things and then one-to-one and stuff like that. So, you know, it doesn't necessarily need to be that you have to fill every hour of the day, you know, and sometimes people think, well, to be successful, I can't sleep for 8 hours, or I can't do this and that. But it's not so much about that. It's about what you do when you're awake. What are you doing, you know, right now? And what can you actually do to help grow your business? What can you do to delegate it? What systems can you put in place and grow it from there? Because I mean, me and Chris talk about all the time. We only work, well, it depends what I'm doing. If I'm really enjoying something, I might work for longer. But I only really do 4 or 5 things a day. But I make sure that those things are highest priority. Everything else gets delegated. So I think, you know, we've spoke about it already. You're at a very interesting point just now. And again, I don't want to overwhelm you or that, but I've said to you already, you know, there's no reason that come February, March, April, start of summer, you could be earning double what you're earning, like 10 grand a month. And I genuinely believe that. And I think it's down to what you do from this step forward in terms of how you delegate things, how you grow things, because, you know, you've got a ceiling now as well. There's only so much you can do and you'll want to do, but there's other people out there that can help you along that journey. So, but I'm glad you mentioned that, because it's so crucial. And a lot of people will be listening to that thinking, fuck, I'm working 8 hours, 10 hours a day, only earning this much. But that's because you're only trading time for money. You know, you're only doing one-to-one PT. You're not breaking into the online space and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm glad we've done this chat, because I think it's so crucial for people to understand that, you know, you can achieve whatever you want if you have that mindset and if you're willing to put in the work as well.
Yeah, I think it's important as well to note that if you are going from like a job where you are working all of these hours to a job where you're working 2-3 hours a day, you're more than likely going to experience guilt for the first, you know, few months, which I did, as you know. Like, I felt so guilty for like the short amount of hours I was working, but the income I was getting, it was like, it just didn't sit right with me, because it's drummed into our heads, society has drummed into our heads that you have to be working 8+ hours a day to get, you know, X amount of money to be successful. When in reality, you don't. Life isn't all about working. It's about doing things you enjoy, spending time with family, friends, whatever. Not, you know, slaving over a computer or working for someone that isn't going to treat you right.
100%. So let's wrap things up then. What advice would you say for anyone that's listening just now that maybe wants to follow in the same footsteps as you, that's wanting to have that breakthrough and help more people and earn more money and have a bigger impact? What would your kind of main pieces of advice be?
I think to just go for it. Like, you will doubt yourself, but just, you know, challenge yourself, push yourself, educate yourself daily. Like, try and better yourself, whether that be through learning or learning more about your niche. So like, I focus on women, so I'm doing my pre-postnatal. I'm going to start doing stuff to do more with hormones, you know. And I think it's really important to find your target market. So there's no point in, fair enough if you want to work with both male and female, but it's so broad, you know, the male and female, it's just so broad. So if you can work with a specific niche, then you're more likely to be more successful, because, you know, you can, you know, help them more with their problems. But yeah, always educate yourself, trust yourself, and challenge yourself. You have to step out your comfort zone to be successful. It's the only way for it.